All right, and good day, everyone, and welcome to Oliver Blue Jr.'s YouTube and Facebook channel. What a delight to be here with you today. I greet you in the name of love, and welcome to what we call here truly where the real you loves you, because we have discovered that the real you is love. And here we really put a great focus on personal identity, real personal identity, or real identity, because we have come to the conclusion that what the world needs is an awakening to its true self, its true identity. And when I say the world, I'm speaking specifically to humanity. I am speaking specifically to the human race, because the current condition of our world is basically a reflection of humanity. It's a reflection of what's been in our thoughts, what's been in our minds, and the actions that we have taken. Because if you haven't discovered it or not, we are God's highest creation. We are we are the highest creation, or the highest created being in this space we call Earth, or on this planet. We rule the world. we rule this world, right? Even in the creation story, the command was given to humanity to be fruitful and to multiply, and to have what? Dominion. Have dominion. That means to take leadership over. Doesn't mean to dominate, right? It doesn't. That's not a negative. That's not a negative command that was been given unto us. That's not an unloving command to have dominion. In other words, God was informing humanity that we are His highest creation, and that we have a responsibility to be good stewards over this temporary environment we call this world, or we call this earth, or we call the earth. And we was given that in creation. And if you notice that, really, if you look down through history, it hasn't been the animals or uh, the vegetation world, or it hasn't been the stars or the moon or the sea or the fish in the sea or the fowl in the air that has ruled the world, that has determined the course of this thing we call life on this planet. But history bears out that it has been, this world's fate has been in the hand of humanity. We have been given authority. We have been given the honor to be the stewards over this place. You know, in Jesus's dispensation, he used several parables where he talked about that the owner, or the father, or the businessman, he placed all of his properties and authorities in the hands of his managers or his underlings, and he went off on a far journey, only to come back one day to have those managers give an account. All that is symbolic of really our purpose and our role and our responsibility here as a species, to make of this place heaven, to make of this place loveliness, to make of this place that which reflect who we are at the core and the essence of our being. And so here on our platform, we start and we end with identity because we believe that it's because of a failed awareness of who we are as shared beings, not only with each others, but as shared beings with our Creator, as a shared being with God, and the unity and the oneness that we share, because of a failed awareness of that. We see the results through time and through history where there's been such unloving acts that have led to unloving results in the world. Tremendous amount of suffering because of lack of knowledge, because of lack of a vision for who we really are. And so that's why we created this space and this platform, this voice, to be helpful in guiding humanity back to its place that we vacated, we abdicated to a thought or an idea that is unworthy of who we are. It's unworthy of who we are because our nature is love. And somehow that got distorted through ideas and thoughts and illusions that have put us on a journey to try to undo and to redo and to recreate ourselves into something that we are not. Thus, you have the history and the present day that we see. The strain and the struggle and the fighting and the unnecessary suffering. You know, scripture said that we suffer needlessly. We suffer needlessly because of lack of knowing, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding who we are. So we are here to help bring that understanding to light, to bring that awareness to light, to become a voice of remembrance of who we are. And thus, we receive the inspiration in the revelation that truly TRULY represents the real you loves you, which is a direct statement towards our identity. And so this, if I can find what I was looking for, missed it, but let me make sure we're online here. Yes, we're online. All right. So the purpose of Truly, it is a voice that is here to call all humanity back to an awareness of who we are as the perfect creation of love. And today's episode is somewhat of a part 2 of this idea that I started earlier and have already produced an 1.5 hour long video, and hopefully you have viewed it, or you can go back and watch the replays. Actually, it's part 1, You Are the Perfect Creation of Love. And this is a direct message that I uncovered out of one of my most treasured references called A Course in Miracles. Now, if you've been following me for any time, you know that you know something about my path, something about my life, and how I started out in a place of very humble beginnings that eventually led to me having some success in the world, at least what the world calls success. you know, I had the car, I had the girl, I had the house, I had the kid, I had the career, I had the friends, right? I had all of those outward looking things that what the world calls symbols of success. But inwardly, I was a mess. Inwardly, I was lost. Inwardly, I was afraid. Inwardly, I didn't know who I was. And then lo and behold, one day, after much self-inquiry and after much time of pulling away to myself to find the answers to life that all of us eventually come into um awareness of, and that question of who am I, what is my purpose. And so as a result of that, I had an awakening, I had an experience, and I have been on this journey for the past I would say almost 40 years. But it was in 2005 that this incredible piece of spiritual literature came into my world. It's called A Course in Miracles. And it was this resource that helped me make sense of the experience that I had. That helped me make sense. It helped make sense of this beginning that I had with the Christian faith, which was really confusing and fearful and inconsistent. And so it was the course that brought correction and clarity and light and direction and freedom and joy and happiness and fulfillment to what it's what helped make sense of it all. And it is a reference that I still use because there's so much here. I mean, I would have to live 1,000 lifetimes to really unpack all that the course is saying. And now it makes the Bible a friendly book for me. It makes the Bible a friendly book for me to understand and to utilize. And some of you may be or may have had or may be having the same experience where your Christian faith or your Muslim faith or your Jewish faith or your Buddha faith or whatever path that you may be on may be somewhat confusing, chaotic, disturbing, unsettling, and you are in search of something that you know is already present, and it's just haven't been found, or it's not making sense on the current spiritual path that you're on. Well, that's why you're listening to me. That's why you have clicked here and you're watching this project kid who on this platform shares an advanced spirituality that can help put all the pieces of the puzzle together and make things make sense, right? And make things make sense, right? And so I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you found me. And there's almost 500 videos that have gone before this one that I'm doing today. And they're out here on my platform. And you have access to all of them right here on my YouTube channel and right here on my Facebook page. All 500 plus videos where we put so much focus on what we call the real you. Where we put so much focus on discovering who we are and talking about the reality of who we are. And 500 videos later, we have come to a place where this subject of us being the perfect creation of love has brought us to this 2024 moment where there's such a need for and such a search for peace, such a search for understanding. There's such a desire to know and to be certain about not only our present moment, but our future. And so we find this lesson, we find this subject to be very relevant for our time. Because again, there is only one foundation that can be laid. Jesus made this declaration in his 33 years of being here. He said there's only one foundation that can be laid. And then Paul picked up on it, and that is the foundation of our oneness with God. He calls it the Christ. There's no other foundation that can be laid. So when we are not standing on the foundation of our oneness and our unity with each other and with our Creator, and knowing that that foundation is whole and complete and perfect, when that is not our foundation, then we find ourselves in uncertainty. We find ourselves void of peace. We find ourselves not having clarity about who we are and what our function is and what our responsibility is. And so we know that this message of we've been the perfect creation of love is so vital and so relevant in today's moment, in this 2024 moment, especially here, having coming off of the past 10 years of what supposedly to be leadership of our nation, speaking of the United States, because I realize I speak to a universal audience. Everyone listening to me are not from the United States, but seeing what we have, the example that we have gone through over the last 10 years, where there's been this grand display of division and this grand display of disunity and disharmony and dysfunction, right? As though we are going in reverse where love is concerned, that we're going in reverse where our oneness is concerned, that we are continually to divide and subdivide and to redivide even at subterranean levels, to the point where most of humanity in this, at least in this country, most of the people of this nation really wonder what the world is going on, especially our young people. Why are the adults acting in such a way? Why are they acting in such unloving ways? Why is there so much division and strife? Why is one side trying to destroy the other side? Or why? What is going on? These are supposedly the adults in the room. I know how I would feel if I was a child over the last 10 years, observing what has been happening in our country, in our world, with all the fact that houses are divided, relationships are divided, races are divided, Genders are divided in so many different ways. I would be asking the question, what is happening? Why can't they be at peace? Why can't we bring all of our goodness and our gifts and all express them equally, and all express them and be accepted of the differences that we have? I would be asking those questions if I was a youngster watching what has taken place over the last 10 years in our country. But there's a reason for that. And this talk that I've been sharing on God's perfect creation is you is a real solution. It's a real foundation, not something new. But it is that foundation that Paul spoke of, that there is no other foundation that can be laid other than that which has already been laid, that which has already, before the world was formed, already laid as a solid foundation that we could be certain about, that we could be joyful about, that we could be at peace about, that we could prosper together in oneness, that we could shine, that we could represent the love that we share, that we could represent the Creator that we all share, the one life that we all share. The foundation's already been laid. But what we have done is seek to make something else, to be a substitute. We have denied the reality of the foundation of our oneness, the foundation of our perfect creation. We have sought to replace that with our own ideas, with our own thoughts. That only leads to chaos, and that has only left to chaos. When all the time the foundation had been laid, when all the time who we are has already been established. And the process of creation is so sure and so exact and so perfect and so whole and so complete that it cannot be broken. We can only break ourselves up against the mad idea of making something else, of making of ourselves something that we are not. That only leads to pain and suffering and sickness and unhappiness and uncertainty. But when we align ourselves with the reality that we are not an effect of our own making, we have not made ourselves, but we are the actual cause or the causation. We're actually a part of the creation. We are actually part of the source that is here to but be a reflection of our true nature, which is love, of our true nature, which is peace, of our true nature, which is oneness, of our true nature, which is unity, of our true nature, which is happiness and joy and fulfillment, of our true nature, of what Jesus called the abundant life. But how has this evaded us? How have we gotten to this place where we are in 2024? when you can turn on your local news or your 24-hour cable news, and you only need 15-20 minutes to see that there is something slightly wrong with the path that we're on. There's something slightly wrong with the results that we're getting in the world. That love seems to be absent. That unity seems to be a lost thing. That Humpty Dumpty appeared to have fallen off the wall and broken into these billions of pieces, like 8 billion pieces. And that we're all separate and that we're all divided. And it's like crabs in a crab bucket. When one seemingly makes progress, or when there seems to be progress made, they only get pulled back down into the darkness of division and separation. So I said all of that to lay the foundation for the reality that you are the perfect creation of love. You're God's highest creation. All humanity equally and without exception. When we don't operate from that reality, when we don't operate from that premise, when we don't have the vision of the unity of humanity and the unity of God's creation, then we seek to make something to be a substitute to that foundation. And that substitute will only bring about uncertainty. That substitute will only bring about suffering at the individual and the collective level. So what is the correction? It's very simple. We have to get back to our first love. We have to get back to the only love that there is. We have to get back to the foundation of who we are. Knowing ourselves, to know thyself, as the poet said, to know thyself, as the guru said, to know thyself is the greatest knowing that one can have. Because when you know who you are, then you know who your brother is. Then you know who your creator is. And then you begin to understand your function in the world as the light of the world. As Jesus said, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. Yes, it's in the knowing of thyself. You remember over in the book of Matthew when I think it's Matthew 16:13. I might just turn over there just for the sake. I'm still laying a foundation here. I know that we have a lot of resistance when we hear the word perfect, especially where it concerns us. A lot of resistance. But we're going to seek to bring clarity where that's concerned. If you look at Matthew 16:13, where does it read? Matthew 16:13. And it says, Matthew 16:13. And Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, and he asked the disciples, saying, Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, is? What are people saying about me? What are the people saying that who I am? Who am I? What's the word on the street? Like, what's the word on the street concerning me? You guys know, y'all out in the streets. You hear what they be saying behind my back. What's the word on the street? Who do who do men say that I am? See, so that's a question of identity, right? That's a question of identity. Why would he ask the disciple that? He wasn't asking the disciple that because he didn't know who he was. He was asking the disciple that because, as we read here, he was there to help them to understand who they are and who all humanity is. Because here he says he identified himself as the Son of Man, not as the Son of God, but as the Son of Man. Identify himself with us, identify himself as a man, just like, or as a human, just like we are having this human experience. So Jesus was making himself equal with humanity in his incarnation. He was declaring the equality that we all share. He wasn't making himself something different than us, something bigger or smaller than us, but he was acknowledging the oneness that we share. And so the question was asked, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, is? And verse 14, he said, and they say, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. So there was all kind of speculation and opinions about who Jesus of Nazareth was. And so in verse 15, he said, and he saith unto them, but whom say you that I am? So he wasn't really as concerned about what they were saying in the street about him. You know how we do sometimes. We're really concerned of what other people's opinion of who we are, how people feel about us. Very important to us. We want people to see us in a particular light. Why? Because our personal self is the self that we made. Our personality is what we have made. It wasn't a part of your creation. It's a part of what you and I decided to attach ourselves to and present ourselves as. It was like our personality or our personal self is that process of making something different than what we are. It's that process of seemingly creating something different than who we are. When in fact, who we are had already been established as the perfect creation of love. In fact, in Psalms 82:6, you can read it. Psalm 82:6. Let me go there. I didn't plan to take this line of reasoning. However, I'm being somewhat led here for obvious reason. I'm just following the prompting here. So in Psalms 82:6. So this is for somebody. 82:6. Psalms 82:6. It says, Psalms 82:6. Okay. I'm getting there. Psalms 82:6. And it says, Well, let me start with verse 5. It says here, and the psalmist says, they know not. See, when we know not, we seek to make something as a substitute of what we don't know. You know, they say the greatest cost in life is not knowing. It's not your mortgage. It's not your taxes that you pay. It's not, for the rich and famous. It's not the jet or the yacht or the mansion or whatever. It's not those things. That is not your greatest expense in life. The greatest expense in life is not knowing. That's why Jesus said, who do men say that I am? Then he said, who do you say that you are? Because he was getting to the fact that you don't know who you are. And when we don't know who we are, that's the greatest cost in life. It will cost us our peace, our joy, our happiness, our fulfillment, our purpose, our effectiveness. It will cost us the light that is within us to shine. It will cost us in our relationships. It will cost us in our business dealings. It will cost us in every encounter with humanity, because we don't know. When we don't know who we are, we don't know who we are standing in front of. And so he says here, verse 5, 82:5, Psalms, they know not, neither will they understand. So when we don't know, we don't have an understanding of our true value. We don't have an understanding of our true essence. When we don't know who we are, we don't have an understanding of life and the purpose of life. We don't have an awareness of our neighbor, that our neighbor is ourself. We don't have an understanding that we are the perfect creation of love. And it costs us when we don't know. And so we build a world, we build systems, we build families, we build relationships, we build companies, we build businesses, we build teams. We do all of these things not knowing that foundation, that reality. And so we build them with the idea that is antithetical to our reality. And thus you see the mess it makes in the world. Thus you see the mess it makes in your own home. Thus you see the mess it makes on our jobs and in our communities and among our leaders and among nations. You see the fussing and the fighting and the division only continue to escalate. You see the absolute hatred that continues to unfold. And we wonder why. Well, I'm showing you why. I'm showing you why. And so it says, we don't know. And as a result of we don't know, we lack understanding. So we stand up under our own awareness. We stand up under our own limited vision when we don't know. And then it says, as a result of not understanding, it says they walk on in darkness. We walk in darkness. We continue to make the same mistakes. We continue to hold the same attitudes. We continue to have the same level of disbelief and doubt and fear. We continue to only see ourselves as what our parents gave us. We only see ourselves as the habits that we have formed over the years. We only see ourselves as this personal self that is vulnerable, that is a victim. All of this comes out of the simplicity of not knowing. And so we are here so that to inform you and inform the world of who you are. That's why it's so important if we don't start from the reality of who we truly are as God's highest creation, as the perfect creation of love, until we see ourselves in this reality, we will only fall asleep and dream a dream of separation. We will only hang out in our hallucination of an illusionary self in an illusionary world that only brings on pain and suffering. That only brings on the haves and the have-nots. That only brings on a level of confusion that is designed to keep you asleep, that is designed to keep you in your personality, to keep you in your cycle. The cycle of what? Kill or be killed. Why? There's enemies out there. See, when you don't know, you think the world is full of enemies. When you don't know, you will create demons and devils, and you will create a fear-based theology where God is an angry God, where God is an unloving Father, where there's sin and there's separation, and on and on and on and on. That the things that we will make as a substitute to the truth. You would create a whole religious community that's not based on oneness, that is just as divided as the government, that is just as divided as every other segment of life. The church, what they call the church or the religious community, it's just as even more divided as any other segment of life. You know it and I know it. So does that make the church the voice that speaks for love? The voice that speaks for God? Does it make it the foundation that we should stand on? No, we see it falling apart and becoming irrelevant, in the sense that they are just as mean and fussing and fighting and divided as all the other segments of life. So something ain't right there. That's not the foundation. The foundation of our oneness will not produce that kind of fruit. Where you see envy and fighting and attack that's going on all the time, in judgment, that is not a solid foundation. That is not the foundation of love. That's not the perfect creation of love. That's a foundation of guilt and judgment that is based on a fear of not knowing, that is based on a fear of a lack of understanding, that is based on a fear of, it's based on a foundation that we made up. We are trying to substitute unreality with reality. We are trying to substitute the unlimited with the limited with the unlimited. We are trying to substitute. So you look at the fruit. The fruit will tell you. Jesus told us, you would know by the fruit. That's not a judgment. That is just saying, hey, it will be an indicator that you're off course, that we're off course, that something is not right. We're not coming from a place of love. We're not coming from the perfect creation of love. That's the foundation. And so it says here that they walk on in darkness, year after year, decade after decade, century after century. And here we are in 2024. And we have not seen it as crazy. We think that we have not seen it in modern day as crazy as it has been. So how can this be? We got all this technology. How can this be? We have thousands of years of history. How can it be that we're still grappling with the same old, I want to use the right word here. How could we be grappling with the same old results, the same old outcomes, the same old lovelessness, the same old division? How can it be? Have we not learned the lesson? Have we not paid attention? Have we not expanded our awareness? Have we not been enlightened? Have we not recognized? Have we not read the tea leaves? What are we doing? Have we not accepted reality? That is the question. Have we accepted reality? Because if we've accepted reality, the heaven on the earth that Jesus talked about would be a lived experience for all of us if we have accepted reality. Heaven and earth would be a reflection of the love and the oneness that we share. It would be a reflection of complete acceptance of one another. It would be a reflection of the abundance where there would be no pain and sorrow and sickness and disease and lack and poverty. And you might be saying, well, Oliver, that's not possible. Well, I beg the difference. It is possible. But it's only possible when we know who we are. It is only possible when we accept the truth of who we are. In order to accept the truth of who you are, you're going to have to lay down your religious convictions that have only stood between you and your joy and your peace. You're going to have to lay down your fear-based theology that has only created division and separation, and a vision of God that is not true. It is possible. In fact, Jesus said, it is impossible that there will ever be a universal religion or universal theology. That's impossible. So it's not going to be found by some book. It's not going to happen by some magical moment. There will never be a universal theology. But he said in the Course in Miracles that there will be, and there must be, a universal experience. What he's saying is eventually all humanity will wake up to the reality of the truth. And that truth will set the creation free from the illusion of separation. And that happens in your life when you recognize, when you embrace and accept the reality of who you are, when you wake up, when you become enlightened to the truth and accept and embrace it. Because in reality, there's only one of us. So when you have that universal experience, guess what? All the world goes free. When you wake up to the truth of who you are as the perfect creation of love, all the worlds go free. You're no longer the judge and the jury and the executioner. You are no longer projecting guilt on others, because that's what you see in yourself. You are no longer the source of division and strife. You're no longer this narcissistic personality that can only see through the eyes of differences. But when you wake up to the true reality of who you are, who do men say that I am? Who do you say that you are? That's the question. When you do it, when you have that universal experience, which we all will have, you may be asking a question. Well, did grandma have it before she left? Did dad have it? Did my cousin? Did my friend? Did my boss? All these people that have left the planet in form, did they have it? Did they have the universal experience? No, they had a human experience. It only takes you. When you have the universal experience of knowing who you are, all humanity wakes up. It only takes the one. Jesus proved that. He said that when he woke up, when he experienced the resurrection of the mind, he said he reconciled all the world back into one. He reconciled all the world back into God. Just one man, just one awakening experience, just one recognition of who he was as the perfect creation of love. That one recognition became the salvation of the whole world. So he already proved that it only takes you. It only takes me. It only takes the one. You don't have to wait for your husband or your brother or your children. You don't have to wait for the president or the pope. You don't have to wait for the pastor or the prophet or the teacher. You don't have to wait for any of these so-called figureheads. Any of these, what I call unhealed healers, to do a job on you. They can't do a job on you. You are a fixed extension of love. You are the creation of God. You are God. As I'm getting ready to read here. And so let me finish. Verse 5. Chapter 82 of Psalm. They walk on in darkness. And all the foundations. Here it is. All. Notice now, he says all. When you say all, that is what? Don't leave nothing out. And it says, as a result of not knowing, as a result of not understanding, as a result of walking on in darkness, repeating the same old attitude, the same old perception, the same old belief system, the same old limitation, the same old judgments, the same old personality. He says, as a result of that, he says, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. Doesn't this sound relevant to our day? All the foundations of the earth are out of course. They are in discourse. They are in disharmony. Now, this is not a negative message. This is a positive message. That's why you have to stay with me. There's no judgment here. This is a exercise in expanding your awareness. This is an exercise in recognizing the truth that is true always. This is an exercise in pausing from all the vicissitudes of your life and getting real answers and getting real solutions. In this case, getting the solution to every problem that there is. There's only one solution to every problem that there is. Though there seem to be many problems, In reality, there's only one problem, and that problem is not knowing. Because when we know, then we won't continue to create problems, but we will become the extension. The extension. The extension of love. We'll become the extension of heaven. We'll become the kingdom of love. Like Jesus said, the kingdom of God is spread out all over the world, but men don't see it. And it only takes you. And it only takes me. So he says all the foundations of the world are out of course. So this is just a metaphor for what happens when humanity seek to make of itself that is something that it is not. And when humanity rejects and don't accept the reality of who we are as the perfect creation of love. And our acceptance or our rejection doesn't change anything, because who we are is eternal. Who we are is fixed. Who we are was predetermined before the foundation of the world, as Paul said in Ephesians chapter 1, that we should be holy and that we should be blameless in love. That we was given every spiritual blessing in the heavenlies. That has been established, and that is changeless. That cannot be altered. We remain fixed. So if we remain fixed, if we're having experiences of anxiety and fear and sense of lack and sense of purposelessness, loneliness, separation, fear, if we feel vulnerable, if all our experiences lacks peace, lacks joy, lacks happiness, it's just an indication. It's just an indication. That we have forgot the foundation. That's all it is. We have not sinned. We're not bad. We're not loveless. No, it just means that what? We have what's the word used when we cover something up? Because like Jesus said, no man takes a light and put it on a bushel or under the table to cover it up. No, we put the light up on a what? Candlestick. So all in the room can see. But whether the light is on a candlestick or under the table, guess what? The light is always shining. So whether or not you are at peace or whether or not you are in fear, your light is still shining. It's just that at some point the choice was made to hide the light. At some point a choice was made to reject the reality that you are God's highest creation, that you are the perfect creation of love. And I say this with all love. I don't know who's the worst at helping us to hide the light. Whether it is the government, or whether it is the religious community with its fear-based theology, with its message of judgment, with its explanation that God is some kind of unloving father, and that God is separates and judge, that God has a torture chamber called hell that some are going to. When we're promoting these kind of ideas, we're not promoting truth. We're not promoting the reality of who our Father is. Man, this was not what I came up here to share specifically. But it needs to be said. It needs to be shared. We need to come out of this place of being stuck. We need to wake up to the truth that is true always. We need to stop looking to humanity. We need to stop looking to man. We need to stop looking to unhealed healers, unhealed leaders, flash and dash men and or women, entertaining people that look good, sound good. And we say, yeah, we want that. That's how the children of Israel did. When God delivered the children of Israel out of the slavery and out of the bondage of Egypt, he was their king. He was their leader. He was their leader and led them into prosperity. But they took their eyes off the reality. They took their eyes off the perfect deliverance, the perfect creation. They took their eyes off the perfect love and began to look around the world and say, God, we want a leader like all the other nations. We want a leader like all the other nations that has, that has so many followers on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. That's popping and can communicate, that can got swag and can talk and can lie. He looks like a strong leader. He don't have any principles, but he looks like a strong leader. I know he's hard for him to tell the truth, but he looks like she looks like a strong leader. Because I'm not singling out one person here. There's a bunch of them. The world is filled with unhealed healers, leading people, like it says here, leading people into darkness, and so all the foundations of the earth are out of course. Who are you listening to? Where the Spirit of God is, there's unity. Where reality is, there's unity. There's oneness. There's forgiveness. There's peace. There's prosperity. And then I get to verse 6, which is what I was trying to get to. And it says, so the conclusion for not knowing is that eventually all the foundations of the earth are out of course. In other words, meaning that the society will be in chaos on every level. You look at our present day. Now this was spoken many thousands of years ago, but that's the principle. But this is the principle. See, we're talking principles here. God is the most principle-centered idea that there is. And so if God is principle-centered, only what he creates or she creates is principle-centered. Therefore you are a principle-centered creation. So when we seek to substitute being principle-centered, meaning governed by law, governed by changeless law, when we seek to be non-principled or unprincipled in our expression, there's chaos. And when we seek to have leaders that are not principled, it's only going to lead to more chaos. When we give a person leadership position and he's not principled, when he doesn't know who he is, it only can lead to more and more chaos. Just sit back and observe. That's what you're going to see, and that's what you are seeing. So, like the children of Israel who desired a king like the other nations, we know what happened to them in the wilderness when they chose Saul to be their leader. Everything went into chaos. All the foundations of their life went out of course. And that same principle applies here in 2024. So it is in your best interest, whether you are rich or whether you are poor, whether you are black or whether you are white, whether you are female or whether you are male, whether you are a Christian or Jew or Buddhist or Muslim, it doesn't matter what your religious persuasion is. Because what? Principles transcends all of those things. Whether you're a Cowboy fan or whether you are a Raven fan, principles transcend all of that. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, principles transcend all of that. Whether you are an American or whether you are a Russian or a German, or it doesn't matter whether you're from a third world country or a fourth world country or what they call a modern country. It doesn't matter. Principles is what's ruling the roost. Principles is what will determine the outcome. And you and I, being God's only creation, you and I being God's perfect creation of love, is a principle that is immutable. You will never stop being that in reality. You will never stop being that. You can only be that. Why? Because you are an extension. You are an extension of that. You are an extension of God. You are an extension of love. So what love is and what God is who you are and what you are. I don't care what the theologian said, or the prophet, or the priest, or the president, or the judge. They are not your creator. They are not your maker. God is, and there is nothing else. There is no other authority. There is no other author. God is the author of your life. Love is the author of your true self. Truly, I say unto you, the real you, who was authored by God, loves you, because the real you is love. The real you is God. And this verse is going to tell you here. Well, I'm getting ready to read in chapter 82 of Psalm, verse 6. And it says, it goes like this. It says, I have said. In other words, God is speaking here. Love is speaking here. And it said, I have said. When you hear the word says, I have said, basically it's saying, I have established, I have created. And when you see a verse in scripture or any other spiritual writing that says, I have said, pay attention to what I have said. What comes after that? He said, I have said, ye are gods. Notice now here in Psalms, this was thousands of years ago. The writer here says, ye are gods, or you are gods. This is who you are. You are gods. And all of you are creation of the Most High. All you are children of the Most High. This is who you are. In other words, you are the perfect creation of love. You are God's highest creation. You are just like me. Jesus said it over in John chapter 1. 1 John chapter 1. Jesus said it this way. Or he said it this way. He said, as I am. He said, as I am. Notice that I am. He said, as I am, that I am. He said, as I am, so are you in this world. See him communicating who we are, the equality that we have with God. As I am, so are we in this world right now. Not when you wake up from this dream of a body experience, but you are that right now in eternity. You have always been that. You will always be that, regardless of your human experience. Nothing in your human experience can ever change what God created. Nothing can alter who you are. Nothing can ungod you. And we are afraid of that. We are afraid of who we are. That's the greatest fear we have, that ye are gods. No, we say, no, we're just sinners. We're just what the religious community has labeled us. Well, the government has told us we are. What our mom and daddy told us we are. What history has said about humanity. And we have placed that in a higher esteem. Than every thought of love. Which is what creation is. Every thought of love. Every thought of love was placed in you at creation. And when you begin to see yourself this way, this big smile comes over you. You begin to see the world in a whole new light. You begin to see everyone for who they really are. You begin to see what a real solution would be to save the world from its own illusionary, hallucinating dream and thought of separation. You will hold the key to life. That is the key to life. Jesus said there's only one key to life. That is to love God and to love yourself and love your neighbor. See, that's it. That is it. That is how simple life is. It doesn't get any simpler than that. All of this is for us to come to remember and to learn that there's a creator and there's a creation and they're one. And we are that. And we're to love that. And we're to express that. And we're to shine that forth in our lives. It's that simple. It is just that simple. It is just that simple. Therein lies your happiness. Therein lies your joy. And therein lies your peace of knowing. Like Paul said, that I may know him in the power of his resurrection. He was talking about the enlightenment, knowing who he was and the awareness of his oneness with God. Jesus demonstrated that to all of the world to see. I and the Father, we are one. When you have seen me, you have seen the absolute Father himself. And guess what? That's true about you also. That's true about you also. You are one with God. You are a shared being with God. You are the express image. You are the express likeness of God the Father. You are. And the knowing of that will and can heal you from the trauma and the drama of a made up life and a made up personality that is full of trauma and drama and fear and anxiety. Because it's what? His foundation is out of course. Our foundation is out of course when we don't embrace this. And we feel the pain and we suffer needlessly. We are leveled with guilt and judgment because we're acting so out of our natural state of peace and love and joy. So the solution will never come through the government. The solution will never come through religion. It'll never come through TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And I use all those platforms myself personally. Because that's where people live. And I want to be where people live, right? Because I have a shared interest with all humanity. They're myself. And so I want the voice of unity and the voice of oneness to be where I am. Like Jesus said, where I am, there you shall be also. So I go on all of these platforms. X, Blue Sky. And I'm like a voice crying in the wilderness that you are the perfect creation of love. And you can't change that. Not in your wildest dreams can you ever change that. That's why I can have confidence. That's why I can have certainty, because God has confidence and he has certainty in what he created or she created. I have absolute confidence in humanity that eventually they wake up from the dream. It's a promise from God that all humanity will wake up one day and realize that as they roll the boat down the stream, that merrily they realized that life was but a dream without the knowing of the self. But when you come to know the self, life is no longer a dream. Life becomes a reality. Heaven and earth, heaven has indeed come to earth. The kingdom of God is spread out over all the world. And I see it. I feel it. I am it. And so are you, with no exceptions. There are no exceptions in reality. There's only the one. And you are that one. I'm that one. All of us are that one. And he said, ye are gods. I'm going to finish this part 2 today with we are gods. There's going to be a part 3 and a part 4 to this message on creation. Because when you understand creation from love's perspective and not from the human perspective, you begin to understand that creation is the very extension of itself. I'm going to say that again. Creation is the very extension of itself. And whatever creation is what it extends. In the natural, when a mother gives birth to a child, the mother extends all her capacity into the child. Everything that the mother is capable of, the child is capable of too. That means they're one. They're one in purpose. They're one in ability. They're one in power. They're not separate. They're one. They have a separate expression, but in reality, they're still one. They're based on what? The extension. So creation is an extension. It's not taking one thing and another thing and putting it together and making something new. That's a concept of man. That's making something from something else. In creation does not make anything from something else. It merely extends itself. So if you want to know who you are, you need to discover the origin or the source of the extension, because that's who you are. Ye are gods. So when the mother gives birth to the child, have you noticed that the child goes on to give birth what? Just like the mother. And that child goes on to give birth just like the mother of that child. And it goes on and on and on. All of us started with from one source. All of us, you got to go before the foundation of the world. You got to go before Adam and Eve and in the garden. If you're starting at what they call the creation story that is in the Bible, you're not starting at home plate. You're in outfield somewhere. You're not starting at home plate. So if you don't start at home plate, you're going to be off course. You got to go back to the beginning. And when you attempt to go back to the beginning, you realize there is no beginning, because we are infinite beings, and we are of an infinite source. And where there's infinity, there is no beginning and there is no end. So that means that we always were as we are. As it was in the beginning, it shall be now and forever. That's what it means. That you remain as love created you, that you remain as God created you, that you are the holy home of love, that you are what love is. That you think you're like Philippians says, Philippians 3, 5, and 6. Let this mind be in you that was also in the Christ, who been in the form of man, who been in the form of God as a human, thought it not robbery to be equal with God. He didn't think he was taking anything away from God, saying he has equality with God. Why? Because he knew who he was. He knew that he was just an extension of that one source. So when you come to embrace that and know that you're just an extension of the only source that there is, you have no problems. You have no reservation or hesitation to say, I have equality with love. I have equality with God. God and I are one. We're not separate beings, but we share the same beingness. Are you hearing me? And when the humanity began to think this way, there's no more problem. There's no more lack. There's no more sickness. There's no more belief in death. There's no more anxiety. There's no more fear. There's no more hatred or bitterness. There's no more projection. There's no more guilt being slung around. There's no more attacks being levied on one another, which we're only levying on ourselves. And so, ye are gods. He said, I have established. I'm the only source there is. I know what I am, and I know what I created, and I created myself. And that is who you are. And so ye are gods. And all of you are creations of me. And then look at John 10:34 in the New Testament. Jesus reminded the religious folks of what was said back then. He said, have you not heard? Have you not heard? John 10:34. He reminded the people in his day. And so I'm reminding you here in 2024, have you not heard? Ye are gods. Have you not heard that you're the perfect creation of love? Yes, you heard it right here on Oliver Blue Jr.'s YouTube channel, Facebook page. And this word, this message will go out throughout all the world. I'm putting it out there. There's enough darkness put out there. I'm here to put out the light so that the darkness can be dispelled, so the fear can be dispelled. I'm here to put out the light and light only. Have you not heard? You heard it right here. You are the perfect creation of love. You can't do anything about that. And I am that I am approves this message. And that's a good place to put a pin in it until we come back the next time and finish talking about. We're not going to talk about it, but we're going to come back and be about it. We're going to be about the truth that is true always. We're going to be about the real you that loves you. We're going to be about taking our place among the saviors of the world and not leaving our brothers in a hellish state. And I want you to join me in that. That's a noble assignment. So join me in that. Thank you so much for being with me today. I will be back to continue this message on identity. And if this resonates with you, you're watching the replay, just put replay in the chat and I'll come back around and give you some love. If this resonates with you, inbox me. There's more in store and you can be a part of it. You can be a part of it. I invite you to be a part of it. I invite you to support me. And not support me, but support the oneness that we share. Right? Yeah. We're going somewhere with this. All right. Have a great day. Peace.